This is the continuing conversation of the definition of love, and I will expand it today in relation to what are emotions. So, as I described in other videos, the definition of love, which is the definition I made up, which is not found in the dictionary. The dictionary lists characteristics, traits, and attributes. Okay, that is not a those aren't all that is not a definition. Here's the definition, which should be in the dictionary, but it is not. Love is attending to the emotional well-being of another being. So review my other videos because I expand on the ways it is applied. So today, because I have friends that have anxiety, and the emotional world is one that where anxiety springs from, and so we have our minds, and we think things through in our minds, our cerebral cortex, right? That's where we think things through. And if there's a stumbling block, it could go into our emotions, the emotion. So the emotions will then activate when the mind can't figure things out, right? So then the emotions can be activated in many different ways, and anxiety is one of them. And the emotional realm is the connective area between the mind and the body, because the emotions express themselves through the body. Anxiety, tears, anger, fear, and I'll get into those today. Yeah, so I have this thing where when we don't listen to our mind, our emotions tell us, and when we don't listen to our emotions, the body is the last stop, which means whatever is going on will manifest itself in ways affecting our organs. Okay? So the idea of the emotions, where they come from, it's all activated by the ventral vagal nerve. So we've been hearing a lot about ventral vagal, and that originates in the medulla, because that's where the ventral vagal nerve originates. So it's part of the brain. We have the medulla, we have the cerebellum, and we have the cerebral cortex, and the frontal lobe does all the thinking with, Anyway, that's not for me to explain right now. You could look this all up. But as I had said, getting to this definition that I created, which I urge you to go and test it out when you hear the word love being used, to apply this definition, because the word love is really used very loosely in literature, in conversation, in lectures and discourse. So it pretty much is defined by my definition, so apply it like that. So going back to, it was a long process, many years to come to this definition, and I didn't know I was going to create a definition, but it was years of research to sort out issues, okay? And prior to that, I don't know if I mentioned in another video that the definition I came up with prior to the one I gave you was a system of values and integrity. I think that's something like that, which had to go into standards and all that. But that's not interactive. I mean, how do you bring that to life. And really, love is attending to the emotional well-being of another being. And that being, as I said in other videos, begins with yourself. So what activates sensations and emotions and feelings, right, are our needs. So in part of this, you see, I'm a word person. I like words. This is my work. I created these spreadsheets from other people's inspirations, doctors and other people that have been working on this. So I put in all these words and I sorted them basically of these feelings and sensations. All right. And I sorted them because it began many years ago with my having come across the work of Marshall Rosenberg from the Center of Nonviolent Communication. So the beginnings of this is based off of expanded and sorted and inspired from this person that began this institute. But then I added to it as the more I read about, especially the work of Dr. John Gray, I think his name is John. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus, and beyond Mars and Venus, he goes into the romantic stuff, feelings, and also other needs, and also the work of how we love the I forget their name. It begins with a Y. How to love. Yeah, because there's many books out there. There's How to Love, how the 5 love languages. The language of love, as we all know, that saying is one language, right? And that is the definition that I made up. That's the language. Having to do with the emotional state and well-being of another human being and our attending. Yeah. So we all have, I'm going to read from this list first that I made. We all have a need for, and this is going to be a long video, so stick with me. Connection. Okay, and then under connection, what does connection entail? Acceptance, affection, appreciation, belonging, cooperation, communication, closeness, community, companionship, compassion, consideration, consistency, empathy, inclusion, intimacy, love, right? Mutuality, nurturing, respect and self-respect, safety, security, stability, support, to know and be known, to see and be seen, to understand and be understood, trust and warmth. That's what creates connection, right? And we have a need for this. And those are the feelings that are ignited when connection occurs. We also have a need for physical well-being. We need air, food, movement, exercise, rest, sleep, sexual expression, safety, shelter, touch, and water. Should have put the water up though. I think because I sorted this in alphabetical order. Then we all have a need for honesty, which entails authenticity, integrity, presence. We all have a need for play, which entails joy and humor. These are, it's relatively short compared to what I'm going to get into. Play is joy and humor. We all have a need for peace. Underneath peace, I have listed beauty, communion, ease, equality, harmony, inspiration, and order. And then autonomy. We all have a need for autonomy. Well, what is that? The choice, freedom, independence, space, spontaneity. These are all the attributes. See, this is now attributes that go into the feeling and satisfying the need of autonomy. And we all have a need for meaning. What entails meaning? Awareness, celebration of life, challenge, clarity, competence, consciousness, contribution, creativity, discovery, efficacy, effectiveness, growth, hope, learning, mourning, participation. Mourning is interesting because I was looking at these and I was thinking just now, these are so positive. These needs are all positive. They're life imbuing, right? It's almost like I have a hashtag, love life, or it could be love life, right? Like, what is your love life? But it's also love life. Love is life and life is love. So mourning has to do, it's a healthy, because we have to understand that if we do not mourn, we are not purging from our systems or addressing or attending to our emotional well-being. So that cannot be pushed aside. Grieving and grief cannot be pushed aside, or we are not attending to the emotional well-being of ourselves. Because grieving, there's a meaning to it. We all have a need for meaning. Okay, so moving on, under meaning still, participation, purpose, self-expression, stimulation, to matter, and understanding. So there we see understanding pop up again. So we all have a need for all these things, right? So I actually I had separated and then expanded. This is a list of feelings when needs are not met. And they're pretty intense and pretty depressing and pretty, they're not to be dabbled with, basically. So our needs need to be met. Otherwise, well, hell breaks loose, right? And then I have a list of feelings when needs are met. So look at the difference. This is like the feelings not met. There's a lot more descriptive adjectives here than when the feelings are met. Well, I took this and I expanded on it even more. So this is a legal side. So I have all these words here sorted. This is, obviously, it's a lot. So this is the feelings when needs are not met or satisfied. And then I have in parentheses, okay, because this is where the dark side comes into play when interacting with another being that might be playing with the emotional world, okay, because God is of the emotional world, and the dark side wants to attack the emotions and rob human beings of peace. Okay, so there's all kinds of ways that is done, and we all have our own personal relationship with the dark side and this dark entity, and the idea is to keep that dark entity and side at bay. Acknowledge that it's there, know what it's all about. That's what the feelings are when our needs are not being met. Know what these are, how they manifest themselves in the body. So listening to that emotion, when our minds can't sort it out, we got to listen to that emotion, these feelings that we're feeling. Because I also have here, okay, so I have feelings when needs are not met or satisfied, or how to be or feel, or what to do when you'd like to create in the other the feeling that their needs are not being met. Because there are human beings out there that are really from the dark side and are led by darkness, and they know how to manipulate the emotional state of another being. So it's the manipulation. So this is all the adjectives of the not met, and this is of the met. I really want to start with the met one so that you know. Maybe I should. I'll start with feelings when needs are met or satisfied, or how to be or feel or what to do when you'd like to create in your, I have partner here, but what did I say before? In another human being, the feeling that their needs are being met. Okay? So across the top, I have the main headers and then the descriptions, the different words. And these are great words. And I urge you to read the work of Jane Austen, Sense and Sensibility, for starters, because she was a master of words and discriminating and delineating what sensations, the sense and sensibility, basically. It's such a easy, great title, but there's so much in that book of the peoples and the characters that she embedded these different sensibilities in. I had forgotten that I wanted to include the concept of that in regards to that. There were so many more words for negative state instead of positive state. And I remember when I read Dante's trilogy, Hell, Purgatory, then Heaven, it was the same kind of thing. Hell was much longer than Purgatory, and Heaven was the shortest. Hell was way more descriptive, and Purgatory less so, and Heaven the least descriptive at all. So by the time I got to Heaven, according to Dante, it's not even what I imagined Heaven to be. It was so least descriptive. It was like an illuminated painting, an impressionistic painting that was of a luminous sunrise. And I was unhappy with that. And that was after I had switched to a better translator. So the Inferno or Hell was very difficult to get through. And that's all I want to say about that. Moving on. So, okay. So feelings when needs are met or satisfied. I have happy, open, alive, good, loving. These are the feelings, right? You feel good, you feel alive, you feel open, you feel happy, you feel loving, you feel interested, you feel attractive, relaxed, caring, smart, thankful, cared for, as if you're acceptable, that you are acceptable, positive and strong. I wonder if I have the word belonging in there. Probably, but now I'm going to read them all. I'll try to keep this under half hour, okay? But this is very important stuff, because now this is the emotions that tell you when the mind is uncertain. But uncertainty is one of the dark sides. But it's an alarm. We need that to alarm us to say, hey, do the work, or hey, double check this. No benefit of the doubt. We are beyond that, okay? Benefit of the doubt goes into the unconditional love, which I described in another video, that it's only reserved for children, okay? Adult to child, or adult to animal, right? Unconditional love is only reserved for children and animals. All right. So under happy, when we feel that our needs are being met or satisfied, or what you'd like to create in your fellow human to have them feel that their needs are being met. Okay, so this is the feelings. Happy. Under happy, I have blissful, bouncy, buoyant, cheerful, delighted, delirious, ecstatic, elated, exuberant, festive, fortunate, giddy, glad, gleeful, great, important, joyous, jubilant, lucky, merry, mirthful, overjoyed, peachy, perky, satisfied, soaring, sparkling, sunny, thankful, rapturous, amused, jolly, joyful, tickled. Who doesn't want to feel all these things like 100% of the time? And that's the side of having been guided by light, you know. I don't even want to get into like the responsibility that you know, attain these feelings and needs responsibly, right? Because it's an authentic version of this. Okay, it's not led by the dark side. Then we have open. I have under there abroad. I don't know what that is. Accepting, adventurous, amazed, boundless, confident, easy, exultant, free, fun-loving, interested, kind, ready, receptive, reliable, satisfied, sympathetic, understanding, open-hearted. These sound so good, right? Vulnerable is under open. It's not when vulnerability is positive. It's the willingness to be vulnerable, which is very different than being in vulnerable to attack. Then when we feel that our needs are being met or satisfied, we feel alive, animated, awake, colorful, courageous, electric, energetic, free, frisky, glorious, glowing, impulsive, liberated, optimistic, peppy, playful, provocative, reborn, spirited, spunky, thrilled, wonderful, stimulated, alert, aroused, invigorated, vibrant, exhilarated, radiant, electrified, euphoric, refreshed, recharged, rejuvenated, renewed, rested, restored, revived. Okay, we feel all these things when our needs are being met. Then we also feel good. What does that feel like? At ease, bright, calm, certain, clean, clever, comfortable, content, decent, deserving, encouraged, extraordinary, fabulous, pleasant, peaceful, pleased, quiet, reassured, relaxed, serene, smart, sure, surprised, free and easy, blessed, enlivened, centered, equanimity, fulfilled, mellow, relieved, tranquil, clear-headed, equanimous, still, and trusting. Right? When our needs are being met, we can also feel loving. What does that entail? Admiration, affectionate, attracted, caring, connection, considerate, cuddly, devoted, love, passionate, sensitive, tender, warmth, touched, sympathy, close, comforted, drawn toward, compassionate, fond, open-hearted, friendly. We also feel, when our needs are being met, interested, which is absorbed, effective, attentive, aware, concerned, curious, engrossed, fascinated, imaginative, inquisitive, intrigued, nosy, rapt, snoopy, engaged, enchanted, enthralled, entranced, involved, spellbound, stimulated, alert, ardent, aroused, dazzled, astonished, eager, amused. Okay, and as I read this one, I'm remembering that, always keep in mind that the dark side plays with these, okay, and could mislead you into, someone operating, being guided by the dark side can mislead you into feeling some of these feelings, and your feelings are authentic, but their intention is a manipulation. Okay, their intention is not authentic or genuine to honestly create this feeling of the needs being met. Okay, then the next one is when we feel our needs are being met or satisfied. Attractive, appealing, beautiful, captivating, coordinated, dandy, dapper, debonair, desirable, funny, good-looking, gorgeous, handsome, hot, interesting, irresistible, jazzy, lovely, popular, pretty, sexy, stylish, well-dressed. We also feel relaxed, which entails breezy, calm, chill, released, resolved, sleepy. Right? When our needs are being met or satisfied, we feel caring, which includes affectionate, attached, benevolent, communicative, connected, cuddly, dedicated, empathetic, generous, gracious, in tune, loving, loyal, nurturing, responsible, selfless, sympathetic, warm, compassionate, friendly, alert. So obviously there's crossover here with a lot of these, but all positive, right? When we feel that our needs are being met or satisfied, we feel smart, which includes the feeling of being accurate, articulate, brainy, bright, brilliant, clear, decisive, focused, heady, imaginative, informed, intelligent, knowing, logical, mature, observant, quick, sagacious, sensible, skilled, thoughtful, wise. Then we feel, when our needs are being met, thankful, appreciative, obliged, grateful, beholden, owing, moved, touched, cared for. We feel that we are being cared for, which includes feeling admired, pampered, appreciated, accommodated, esteemed, honored. We feel also that we are acceptable, that we are adequate, even average, functional, good enough, legitimate, and okay. We also feel positive. What are some positive feelings? Interestingly, I have anxious at the top. This might fall into the realm of that it's allowing us to know that there's something to attend to. So it's a positive feeling to feel anxious. If you don't feel anxious over anything, it's not really good. So some positive feelings are complimented, determined, eager, earnest, enthusiastic, excited, hopeful, inspired, intent, keen, productive, pumped, sincere, bold, brave, daring, challenged, optimistic, reinforced, confident, ardent, aroused, enlivened, invigorated, lively, vibrant, eager, moved, expectant. These are all positive feelings, right? Jazzed, lighthearted, sanguine, upbeat, encouraged, empowered, open, proud, safe, amazed, enthused, motivated, moved, psyched, stimulated, stirred, full of wonder, and awed. Right? All positive feelings when our needs are met or satisfied. Or how to feel or what to do when you'd like to create in your partner the feeling that their needs are being met. The last column I have up here, finally there, strong. You feel strong, able, accomplished, assertive, assured, authoritative, brave, capable, certain, clear, competent, confrontive. Right? If you need to confront something, you're strong enough to feel that you need to confront something. You feel the feeling of having the capacity to be confronted. Courageous, dynamic, ethical, feisty, free, graceful, hardy, in control, influential, moral, nervy, outspoken, persevering, rebellious, reliable, resolute, revitalized, solid, stable, sure, tenacious, unique, impulsive, secure, enlivened, invigorated, vibrant, and radiant. So as you can see, these are characteristics and traits of the feelings of when your needs are being met, okay? Which is a sub area of what it takes to attend to the emotional well-being of another being, right? I started thinking something when I hit this. What did I hit over here? I lost my thought because I moved on. I could have stopped. But anyway, now I want to go. If I could do this, I'm not going to be able to do this in 3 minutes. I'm trying to make this 30 minutes so that I can post it on TikTok, which only allows for 30 minutes, I think. I'll put it on YouTube. Okay, so now we have feelings when needs are not met or satisfied, which is an awful state to be in, okay? And you don't want to be there, or if you are there, you're not there for too long. You don't want to be basically in hell, because hell is, right here with us. We have a personal relationship with the light side, and we have a personal relationship with the dark side, like with the yin yang, okay? So can we feel? Number one is angry or anger, right? So under that, abusive, aggravated, aggressive, appalled, bitter, bloodthirsty, boiling, bristling, bugged, contentious, cranky, cross, dangerous, disgruntled, disgusted, dismayed, enraged, exasperated, frustrated, fuming, furious, galled, horrified, hostile, incensed, inflamed, infuriated, insulting, animosity, contempt, livid, peeved, mean, menacing, miffed, misanthropic, mouthy, nasty, offensive, outraged, pissed off, provoked, repulsed, resentful, retaliatory, revolted, rude, ruthless, steamed, surly, troubled, vengeful, worked up, irritated, sore, annoyed, upset, hateful, unpleasant, indigent, hate, irate, irked, nettled, impatient. All right, and then there's a subcategory of aversion under angry and anger I have here. This is where I sorted it. So under aversion is abhorrence, appalled, bothered, displeased, disgust, dislike, enmity, horrified, loathing, repulsion, revulsion. All right, these are very intense, and we don't want to live in that space or place. We say space nowadays, but we don't want to live in that place very long at all. So then when our feelings are not being met or satisfied, continuing on, we feel pain or we feel hurt. We feel abased, abused, aching, afflicted, agonized, annihilated, assaulted, betrayed, blamed, bleeding, brutalized, burned, bushwhacked, chastised, cheated, crushed, damaged, defeated, deflated, dejected, deprived, devalued, diminished, disrespected, forgotten, heartbroken, humiliated, ignored, anguished, grief, hungry, miserable, remorseful. Okay, so grief can also make it in its other capacity under actually mourning is what it is. It's not grief. So if there's constant grief, and I'm thinking of Charlie Brown and Peanuts, good grief, right? Again, we're not built to live in that place for very long. We got to process it and get out. Eliminate the people that come into your life and cause this havoc, because these are the feelings when our needs are not met. Continuing with more descriptive adjectives or states, when we feel our needs are not being met under pain and hurt, is injured, insulted, intimidated, invalidated, invisible, jilted, laughed at, neglected, offended, oppressed, pained, persecuted, punched, put down, rebuffed, rejected, ridiculed, screwed, slighted, snubbed, squashed, tormented, tortured, victimized, wrong, appalled, alienated, agony, devastated, heartbroken, hurting, and regretful. All right. So next up I have sad. Okay. And again, some of my extreme excavation and research, you could come across some very unhelpful, which is actually hurtful, therapists, guides, or people that you come across online talking about the light side and the dark side. They might not call it that necessarily, but anyway, one of my personal anecdotes is I had a therapist that, I would tell the therapist I am in a state of profound despair. And then this therapist kept pressing, but what's underneath? What's underneath? And I said, it's sad, sadness. It's as plain as saying sadness, but it's like profound sadness, profound despair, And this person was looking for me to say the word anger. And I just let her know, yes, of course there's anger, but anger is secondary to say. It's first sadness, all right? That's what's under the anger. So the baseline is the sadness. So, and I still believe that to this day. And this was I came across that realization about, 6 or 7 years ago, maybe. And I was like, she had it wrong. This therapist had it wrong in that the base state of feeling was not anger, it was sadness. Sadness was guiding my clamoring for a solution, right? Which also is having me think about my other revelation is that peace is a prerequisite for happiness. Okay, you know, at one time I was like, I just want to be happy. The whole point of life is to be happy. Yes, that's true. But happiness will not be attainable without peace. That's why war is so horrible. So here we go. Sadness. Feelings when needs are not met or satisfied. You feel sad, anguish, blue, bummed, burdened, desperate, despondent, disappointed, discouraged, dismayed, gloomy, grave, gray, grief, grieved, grim. My God, we're halfway in the grave over here, right? Heavy-hearted, let down, longing. You see, that's when I say we're halfway in the grave is because the dark side wants us to hate life. So the opposite of life is death. You know, the sooner we make it to the grave, and the unhappiest state possible for that individual, the dark side wins, and that's what the dark side wants. All right? So that's why I say that. Heavy-hearted, let down, longing, lost, low, miserable, moody, mournful, pained, pessimistic, scorned, sorrowful, tearful, unhappy, desolate, lonely. And then under that, there's a subsection under sadness, under sad for sadness, disheartened, forlorn, heavy-hearted, hopeless, melancholy, wistful, wretched. And then under that, even more of a there's yearning, and it falls under sadness, longing, nostalgic, pining, envious, jealous, and again, wistful. Okay, moving on. Feelings when our needs are not being met or satisfied. So now I'm up to depressed. So I did all these, right? It's endless because it's so easy to fall victim. This is how well the dark side works on us, that we have so many adjectives and states of being for being overcome by darkness, okay? Depressed, abominable, we feel when our needs are not being met. Abrasive, abysmal, accursed, ashamed, bad, besieged, black, confrontive. So you see how on the confrontive is the power to be able to confront, but then there's a sensation to confrontive. It's here, contemptuous, dark, despairing, despicable, diminished, dissatisfied, dour, dreary, dysphoric, fiery, guilty, irritated, livid, loathsome, lousy, morbid, morose, perturbed, repugnant, seething, self-abasing, self-destructive, sense of loss, spiteful, stewing, suicidal, sulky, terrible, worn out, disappointed, discouraged, powerless, miserable, detestable, disgusting, in despair, a sense of loss. You know, that's so horrible. Those states of being when feelings when needs are not being met. And then I also have, or how to be or feel or what to do when you'd like to create in the other, in another human being. Then we have, we're in a state of shock, right? When our needs are not being satisfied. Agape. That's interesting that's there. Aghast. Agape must mean something else. Agog, astonished, astounded, awestruck, dazed, dumbfounded, flabbergasted, jarred, jolted, rattled, startled, stricken, stunned, stupefied. Horrible, right? I also have the word embarrassed. Feelings when needs are not being met or satisfied. Or how to be or feel or what to do when you'd like to create in another human being the feeling that their needs are not being met. And they make them feel embarrassed, right? And then the person feels embarrassed, absurd, ashamed, awkward. This is what the person feels when their needs are not being met. Clumsy, conspicuous, disgraced, foolish, humiliated, mortified, silly, uncomfortable. Then there's embarrassment, chagrined, discomfited, flustered, self-conscious, and guilty. Okay, moving on to the word victimized. All right. It's a header. Abused, bamboozled, bullied, cheated on, controlled, crucified, crushed, cuckolded, cursed, damned, debased, deceived, degraded, denigrated, denounced, deprived, devoured, dumped on, duped, emasculated, erased, eviscerated, hoodwinked, intruded upon, jinxed, mistreated, objectified, quashed, railroaded, reamed, scapegoated, set up, suffocated. Even my volume is getting louder when I read these because they're so awful. It's like, I don't even want to see these words in my life anymore, right? I don't want to entertain or engage in any activity that causes these feelings. And this is what we need to be doing, maintaining our peace. Because peace is a prerequisite for happiness. And we need to keep the bringers of these awful sensations at bay. You know, send them away. Shake the dust off your feet and send them away. So moving on to confused or confusion, okay? Confusion and confused is the very, you know, it's like this, it's the grayest of the black area, but it's still black. It's still the dark side, okay? It's not the light and brightness and lightness. Confused or confusion, addled, ambivalent, anxious. So here we go, friends. Anxious, who have anxiety. At a loss, baffled, befuddled, bewildered, conflicted, disconcerted, distracted, doubtful, flustered, hesitant, indecisive, lost, misgiving, muddled, mystified, perplexed, puzzled, tense, right? Tense is the feeling, the body, the body is housing the feeling of tenseness, and it's letting us know. All right, tense is literally in the body. It made it through the mind, the emotions were telling us, and then there's a tension. So stress is tension in the body, in my experience, in the best way I could put it, right? And I speaking to somebody the other day, they don't, you know, peace is, the person was saying peace is relative, just like they say love is their own definition. Excuse me, but no, I'll tell you exactly what peace is. Peace is no tension in the body. Peace is the absence of tension in the body. All right? Thank you. So where was I? Under confused, tense, uncertain, uneasy, unsure, upset, embarrassed, shy, stupefied, delusioned, unbelieving, skeptical, distrustful, pessimistic, dazed, discombobulated, disoriented, mixed, and torn. So again, here these adjectives and states of being, they cross over from different places. They're all, you know, all this awfulness is hand in hand with one another. It's on one sheet of paper because it's all related, right? Feelings when needs are not met or satisfied. Helpless, alone, controlled, despairing, distressed, dominated, empty, fatigued, forced, frustrated, futile, hesitant, hindered, immobile, impotent, incapable, ineffective, inferior, lame. Maybe this said micromanaged. Oh, I made this the cell of this spreadsheet too small, but it says probably micromanaged, overwhelmed, paralyzed, pathetic, stifled, stonewalled, straitjacketed, stuck, tragic, useless, vulnerable, woeful, in a stew. And this straitjacket is like when people say, "Oh, my hands were tied." Like literally, they, you know, hog. That's where the hog-tied, I think, comes from. Okay, so feelings when needs are not met or satisfied. This is where vulnerability is the opposite of the willingness to be vulnerable, which you do with a person that is sharing love, which is attending to the emotional well-being of another being in a mutual process. So this vulnerability is the opposite of the vulnerability of the positive and the light, which is necessary for connection, where is the willingness to be vulnerable. This is when somebody is just vulnerable, bare, bested, blind, broken, bullied, captive, conned, conspicuous, constrained, controlled, corralled, delicate, eclipsed, expendable, exposed, little, lost, obscured, one down, one upped, open, you know, open to attack, right? Open through the threat of attack. Small, susceptible, weak, That's another, the word open is another good way to describe vulnerable in its dichotomy, one for the light side and one for the dark side. For those who don't understand that dichotic nature of the word vulnerables, open is kind of like the same, like open for business or open to attack. See how the word open is used in two different ways? One's positive and one's unhealthy. People, oh, I don't want to say negative. And I went into, oh, it's healthy or an unhealthy. The dark side makes you bend and twist because the idea is to not reach a state of understanding with the other. It's to constantly keep the upheaval of not understanding. Seek to understand. So if you got two people seeking to understand one another, you're going to get somewhere. I was on the word open. Raw, sensitive, small, susceptible, weak, fragile, guarded, leery, helpless, insecure, reserved, and shaky. So again, we are on the sheet. Feelings when needs are not met or satisfied. Damaged, aberrant, abhorred, abnormal, annoyed, beleaguered, contaminated, contemptible, crippled, defiled, destroyed, detestable, disgusting, hateful, impaired, impure, infected, maimed, nauseated, riled, ruined, scarred, scathed, sore, spoiled, ticked off, unpleasant, upset, vicious, and wary. Then there's even the word uncomfortable when your feelings are not being met or satisfied. You feel antsy, awkward, conspicuous, discomfort, discontented, disturbed, fidgety, icky, ill-tempered, inappropriate, odd, off balance, out of it, peculiar, rotten, sickened, soured, upset, and unsettled. All right, we also feel when our needs are not being met or satisfied, afraid, or we have fear or disquiet. And here we are, we're almost done, right? Alarmed, anxious, boxed in, chilled, cornered, cowardly. Oh, chilled is another word, like to be chill or to feel a chill, right? Cornered, cowardly, doubtful, fearful, fear, foreboding, frightened, jittery, frazzled, jumpy, menaced, overwhelmed, quaking, scared, shaken, shaky, spooked, suspicious and leery, terrified, threatened, uneasy, mistrustful, wary, worried, stressed out, panicked, nervous, tense, tension, timid, restless, agitated, irritable, concerned, distraught, frustrated, disconcerted, discombobulated, dismayed, right? Feelings when needs are not being met or satisfied. Anxious. Here we go. Anxious, antsy, edgy, cautious, daunted, dreading, dread, frantic, fretful, guarded, insecure. One can spawn the other one, ignite the other one, right? Insecure, jangled, knotted, nervous, neurotic, obsessive, overcome, panicky, pell-mell, preoccupied, restless, ruffled. What is this? I have the word self. This got cut off too, darn it. Sorry. Write into comments that you want to get back to me and want me to get back to you on that one. Shaky. This is all under anxious. Shy, skittish, stressed, trepidation, unnerved, cranky, perturbed, frustrated, troubled, turbulent, turmoil, surprised. Then we have tired, right? We feel tired when our needs are not being met or satisfied. Battle-worn, bedraggled, careworn, depleted, dispirited, done in, downtrodden, drained, dried up, exhausted, faint, finished, fried, harried, hassled, limp, listless, overdrawn, overloaded, pooped, spent, strained, stretched, used up, weary, worn out. And under that is fatigue, beat, burnout, sleepy, wiped out, lethargic, right? Then when the feeling that we do not have our needs being met is we feel alone, abandoned, alienated, aloof, antisocial, apart. Like we don't feel a part of. We feel apart, avoided, bypassed, deserted, desolate, disliked, dispossessed, disregarded, dissociated, distant. One day I'm going to get back to the difference between dissociation and dissociated and disassociation. People mess those up also, okay? They confuse those, conflate them, and they misuse them. Distant, estranged, excluded. This is all under the feeling of feeling alone when your needs are not being met. These are other characteristics of alone feeling. Excluded, friendless, ignored, inaccessible, isolated, jilted, longing, loveless, needy, outnumbered, rejected. Then there's the feeling of disconnection or indifferent, feeling indifferent, absent, apathetic, banal, bland, blasé, bored, cavalier, cold, dead, disinterested, dulled, emotionless, empty, insensitive, lackadaisical, lifeless, mindless, neutral, nonchalant, reserved, robotic, uncaring, weary, preoccupied, closed. That's the opposite of open, right? But closed is always closed. In reference to how there's like a dual meaning there's the word appears in both spots. I don't think closed appears in the positive. Nope. But open does. Detached, distant, withdrawn, alienated, aloof, removed, and uninterested. Then we also feel, here's not the last one, inadequate, deficient, enfeebled, helpless, inadequate. Oh yeah, inadequate. Again, I have that. Incapable, incompetent, inept, inferior, insecure, insufficient, mediocre, meek, one down, pathetic, powerless, second-rate, spineless, unworthy, useless, weak, and worthless. Then we have the feeling when our needs are not being met or satisfied, or to be on the guard for the dark side and for peoples that deliver and are operating under the auspices of the dark side and are guided by darkness. This is how to be or feel or what to do when you'd like to create in the other human being. This goes for animal too. The feeling that their needs are not being met. Hurtful, right? Controlling, cruel, harmful, malevolent, malicious, malignant, manipulative, offensive, and sadistic. There's also guilty, accountable, at fault, contrite, culpable, deceitful, faulty, regretful, remorseful, responsible, rustful, undeserving, and wrong. Then there's literally the word negative. Angst, averse, disharmonious, hesitant, opposed, oppositional, quarrelsome, rebellious, recalcitrant, resistant, stubborn. Also, the feeling what we feel when our needs are not being met or satisfied is bored, or what to deliver to somebody when somebody is of the dark side and is guided by the dark side and is their MO is to spread the dark side, is to spread to behave bored, but I'm going to go back and say again, these are feelings when needs are not being met. Bored, bland, dreary, listless, mundane, tedious, unchallenged, understimulated, numb. And then finally, I did this whole thing, right? Lost. I feel lost. Planless, rudderless, scattered, seeking, stranded, and stumped. So, my friends, familiarize yourself with these opposites, all right? Know what we have. A lot of dark side feelings, and we also have a lot of feelings when our needs are being satisfied. This is where we want to be to maintain good health, okay? Because health is the body is the last stop, and our body is what, for physical health, is what determines our physical health. So when your mind is unable to figure it out, this is the great information to put in your mind so that you can figure it out without it having to go into your emotional world, into your emotions to ignite that ventral vagal nerve, which ignites the anxiety. okay? And stress is other people. That's my other belief. So when you test that out, you know, it's generally most of the time it's other people. Oh, I'm so stressed. You know, as basic as it is, oh, I'm so stressed at work. Well, because there's deadlines, and who's behind the deadline? A person or an entity, right? So stress is other people. So I want you to understand that I did this work, and I have the knowledge and awareness, and I'm sharing that with you. To, you know, to me, a psychologist or well, mostly a psychologist, not psychiatrist so much, because they don't do their jobs as far as, not all of them, they just prescribe medicine, most of them, so I've heard. But a psychologist, I forgot my train of thought. Anyway, yeah, to understand this. So, my friends, I forgot what I was going to say. I'm sorry, but I'll put it in the description if I remember by the time I get back to this video. It's important that we familiarize ourselves with all this so we can discriminate and delineate and understand ourselves, because if you're someone like me, I did not understand the placement of the emotion and how it was a signal to us to attend to it, and to understand that there was differences between them and they all had a function. I was, as I've said, when there is not that knowledge or understanding, which is imbued in childhood, from caregiver, parent to child, the child then grows up and is robbed of their birthright, because it is our birthright to know that this is how our bodies function, and to use that information that's coming in to our bodies, into our purview. You know, we have our eyes and our ears and our senses to sort it all out. And then with that, the mind, the emotions, the body tells us, okay, the body is the last stop. This is how most of the dis-ease exists in the world. Dis-ease. Ease is of the light side, and dis-ease is of the dark side. I know that's, you know, whatever, but, you know, it's kind of nice to put it that way too. So keep on meditating and expanding your awareness and understanding.